as we continue to bring on assistance here as we continue to monitor this storm. Ricky Matthews, you have us now?
I've got you, James. First tornado warning of the day here. First cell producing possibly a tornado north and west of Winston-Salem.
Yes, very much so. And it's in an area, as I've been telling our viewers, that is now really just coming into decent radar coverage. As this thing got going initially over Iredell County, we had a hard time distinguishing exactly where the concern is, but we can see it a little bit better now, just to the northeast of Yadkinville, as you said, just outside Winston-Salem. This is just north of 421. We'll be waiting to see if we get an update from the National Weather Service. Go ahead.
New tornado warning just issued. That's going to be north and east of where this is now. If you can take my feed, I think I've got a pretty good view of the couplet here on GR. This is going to be a tornado warning for Surrey County, Stokes County, and Yadkin County until 12:15 Eastern. Tornado possibly located near Nebo, moving northeast at 45. In addition to the tornado threat for some hail with this storm, this is a little supercell thunderstorm, kind of a mini supercell right now, moving to the north and east. So areas towards East Bend, up towards Pilot Mountain. Usually if you're driving on the interstate, you get a nice view of Pilot Mountain. You'll see that coming out of Mount Airy. So a lot of people know where this is. And in the last scan here, just to the north and east of Yadkinville, looks like that rotation is tightened up a little bit. Let's get in closer here. And I'm going to turn the radar off for a second. We'll bring it back on. So this is a lot of kind of farmland area, a lot of area where some homes are, not a very densely populated area, but certainly an area of concern for this possible tornado moving up to the north and east around 45. So I'd say East Bend's probably our area of biggest concern as we step back a few frames and kind of put it into motion. It looks like it'll come just to the north and west of East Bend here, and then move into, let me turn the county names here, be moving into eventually Stokes County and the southeastern side of Surrey County. Now, in addition to that storm, James, if you look a little bit further north, there's another storm that's exhibiting a little bit of weak rotation. Maybe there. That's a little bit of a messy couplet on the north side of the storm. But obviously, this one is the biggest concern right now across the entire state.
And what's interesting to me as well, Ricky, is you can see how as this possible tornado comes closer into radar and we begin to get a better radar picture, how they were able to better define that polygon. This is a lot skinnier than that last one, where I think we had a little bit of larger of a margin of error, and that doesn't seem now to be the case. You know, we still obviously want everyone from East Bend to Pilot Mountain, even parts of King, going to their safe place. But it helps us really convey that message here as we get into better data to know exactly where this possible rotation is heading.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the radar out of Blacksburg right now. The Weather Service in Blacksburg, responsible for issuing this tornado warning. They have the area responsibility for these counties as you go into Stokes, Yadkin, and Surrey counties. And eventually this will be moving into Virginia, but it's going to take about probably an hour and 30 minutes before it pushes up into those areas. They put the radar in sales mode, which is nice. It gives us more frequent scans, the lowest levels of the atmosphere, which is the one that we'd be looking at the most when it comes to tornado activity. The height of this is still pretty high up. Let me stop it and kind of query it. Actually, that's not bad at all. We're looking about 5,000 feet up in the storm, 4,600 or so. And when we zoom in closer, we've got a wind of around 60 miles per hour that way. Gate to gate shear, about 50 miles per hour or so. When we switch over to a couple of the different products, I don't see any type of debris or anything like that that would indicate the potential for a tornado on the ground. But this looks like some rotation still probably aloft in the storm, moving quickly to the north and east. And that's the thing with a lot of storms that move through here. They move at 45 miles per hour. And then, if you're in East Bend or you're towards Pinnacle area, especially East Bend, you don't have a whole lot of heads up. The Pinnacle, you got a little bit more time, about 30 minutes for it to move into your area. But East Bend, these storms can approach quickly and move in quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Or so. And you were talking about the radar data that we're getting now in that sales mode. It's really paying off. When this thing started, we had a lot of uncertainty in that data we were getting over northern Iredell County inside that hole. And so it makes our lives a little bit easier, and yours at home too, as you're trying to decide where this thing is and what you need to be doing to be able to watch us pinpoint that for you. So, if you're inside one of these polygons at any time, seconds matter. You should never just be standing there trying to wait for someone to circle on a map and figure out where this thing is, or wait for 3 or 4 sources to tell you to seek cover. If your tornado warning sirens are going off, your weather radio is going off, your phone's going off, and you're inside this polygon, move to safe place, as you should be right now in East Bend, Pilot Mountain, and King.
Yeah, especially East Bend. I think that's probably the area of greatest concern from this possible tornado. The western side of East Bend is probably the area I'd be most concerned about if I lived there. I don't know if I can turn on any streets here. I'm not sure if I've got my streets loaded in. We could try to call out a few of those. So, James, why don't you take it for a second, and I'll try to load some of my streets in. We'll see if we can get closer.
Yeah, absolutely. You're watching severe weather coverage on the Carolina Weather Group. James Brierton, Ricky Matthews here as we draw towards the noon hour. We are watching a tornado warning now for Stokes, Surry, and Yadkin counties in North Carolina. The area of concern moving in towards East Bend as this storm continues to move to the north and east at 50 miles an hour or so. Looking at the actual bulletin, because I'm not sure we've shown this on the screen here in the last few minutes or so, but this warning goes until 12:15 as the National Weather Service continues to monitor a thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado moving northeast at 45 miles an hour. Debris not only would be damage from a possible tornado, but also damaging winds and up to quarter-size hail. Yadkinville, Pilot Mountain, East Bend, King, and Pilot Mountain State Park, all within the area of concern here as we continue to monitor this very dangerous situation that really is just now, Ricky, kicking off for a day-long event.
Yeah, this is the first tornado warning we've seen of the day. Interesting enough, not coming in an area under a tornado watch. I imagine later today we will have a tornado watch up for a portion of North Carolina. If not a tornado watch, definitely a severe thunderstorm watch as more of these showers and storms pop up. The interesting thing about this one, James, is this is formed in an area where we have a good amount of cloud cover right now. You know, a lot of times we talk about how we want no cloud cover. We want a lot of sunshine to help build up the instability. This one formed despite some cloud cover. So that rule doesn't always apply 100% when you're talking about tornadoes and severe storms. You got to be careful no matter what the environment is. But looking at the latest scan here, certainly a nice strong couplet on the western side of East Bend. So this is going to be approaching areas near State Road 1541, State Road 1543, Westerior Drive. Areas for a little bit further north would be Beauty Drive, areas near Martins Mill Road. And then eventually we're going to be moving into the Surry County area. Looks like Stokes County for a while may miss some of this as it pushes up to the north and east. Looks like Pinnacle would probably be the biggest town of concern right now for me. Then going up toward US Highway 52, I'd be worried if I lived up in that area. And then, you know, I mentioned that other storm here for a second. There is looking like another couplet trying to form here on the western side. We'll have to watch that one just to the north of this storm. I've got our lightning turned on as well. And we haven't seen a ton of lightning with this storm over the past 15 to 20 minutes, but now starting to see a few lightning strikes pop up, which leads me to believe that we could see a uptick in the potential for a tornado here out of this storm. That's sometimes a precursor to any type of tornado development is an uptick in the lightning. We have talking about that watch a second ago, the Storm Prediction Center just put out a statement saying that a severe thunderstorm or a tornado watch is about 60% likely to pop up across our area soon. So all of central North Carolina, western North Carolina, parts of Georgia as well, likely going to be included in this severe thunderstorm or tornado watch that probably will be issued here a little bit later on this afternoon by the Weather Service, the Storm Prediction Center out of Norman, Oklahoma. Of course, watch meaning conditions are favorable for severe weather. Warning meaning that it is occurring, and that's what we have right now across portions of Stokes County, portions of Yadkin County, and Surry County, with this possible tornado just to the west of East Bend moving north at 45. This is really getting ready to move out of Yadkin County and head into more of Surry County, the extreme southeastern portion.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they cut that back here not too much longer.
Yeah, so give you a wider perspective. Over here on the left side, this little marker right here, this red line going south, that is Interstate 77. And then when you come across Interstate 74, goes south of Mount Airy. So a lot of people have traveled that road coming, if you're coming out of Virginia, heading towards Winston-Salem, heading towards Greensboro, you're probably going to jump on 74, and then maybe come down 52 to get into the Winston-Salem area. I've done that several times trying to head to some things in Winston-Salem. So that's a road that's pretty familiar. And you pass by Pilot Mountain. There's a rest stop or a scenic overlook. I want to say it's just south of Pilot Mountain on 52. So that area would be the spot where I'd be concerned about this potential tornado moving up that direction. And the latest scan we just got in shows, once again, a very strong couplet here. Now on the northwest side of East Bend, moving to the north and east. A couple more roads we can call out for you here. This is going to be approaching, and we're getting closer, and I'll find some of these roads. State Road 2074, 2069, a lot of state roads in this area, but Nunn Road is one of concern. Robert Owens Road, these are all going to be in the Surrey County area. John Mickles Road, and then further north, we're going to be looking towards areas along Dune Ridge Trail, State Road 2048, Valley Green Trail, Plum Lane, and the Quaker Church Road area. So if you live in any of those areas, you know anyone who lives in the southeastern side of Surrey County, North Carolina, that's the area of concern right now for this possible tornado. Indicated by radar. This hasn't been confirmed by spotters or anything like that. It's a radar indicated tornado, and we're looking about 4,000 feet up in the storm, 3,900 feet up in the storm. And tornadoes usually occur in the lowest couple thousand feet of the atmosphere. So we're scanning a little bit higher up than where the tornado would probably be. So that's why a lot of times we say we need your ground truth reports, because it's so hard sometimes to go off of what the radar is saying. Radar can show us what's happening aloft in the storm, but it can't show us exactly what's happening at ground level. But we know the environment today across the Carolinas is favorable for severe storms, including tornadoes, which is why the Weather Service has gone ahead and triggered this tornado warning for Surrey, Stokes, and Yadkin counties. If you're in Yadkin County, I pretty much can give you the all clear now, I think, James. It's really Surrey County and Stokes County that would be of greatest concern.
And Ricky, I'm also going to welcome in everyone who's joining us, not only on the live pages of the Carolina Weather Group, but also on all of our affiliates that have now picked us up on different Facebook pages and the like. You are watching the beginnings of severe weather coverage on the Carolina Weather Group. We have one warning right now that is in northern North Carolina as we're monitoring this tornado, and we'll get back to it in just a moment. But if you're now joining us, we've extended this coverage to all of our pages because we have a severe weather threat for everyone in the Carolinas today. An enhanced risk, a tier 3 out of 5 is in orange there across western North Carolina and upstate South Carolina. That would include the mountains, that would include the foothills, that would include Charlotte and parts of upstate South Carolina, but everyone else is in yellow, a slight risk, a tier 2 out of 5 as classified by the Storm Prediction Center. So if you're now joining us and you're wondering why we maybe aren't talking about your neck of the woods, we only have one warning right now, and that is for a tornado warning that we're watching in just to the east of Interstate 77 in North Carolina as we close in on that Virginia border. Ricky?
Yeah, I'm trying to take a little wider view here for a moment because I want to show how there's several showers and storms firing up. The biggest concern, of course, the one with the tornado warning on it. But we've got some more showers and storms just to the southwest side of, I should say, the southern side of North Wilkesboro, between North Wilkesboro and Taylorsville, and then in the Statesville area, Iredell County, seeing another shower push their way. And then we've got some more showers. The radar's not picking it up too well because we're all the way up in Virginia based off the radar. But there are some more showers and storms forming near Shelby, also towards the Cherryville area, Bellwood, Lincolnton, and also towards Forest City. So those storms will need to be watched here over the next little bit to see what they do, James, because as we continue to watch these storms fire up, any shower or storm today that gets isolated enough could have the potential to produce some severe weather and tornadoes, kind of with this first round we see moving through. And then later this afternoon and evening towards the nighttime hours, we're going to be watching for a second line of storms pushing in from the west. And then if you live in the North Carolina high country, a lot of rain shower activity going on right now, and some moderate rainfall across portions of Avery County, Watauga, Caldwell, the western side of Wilkes County, seeing some isolated showers, and then pushing into Watauga County as well. Some moderate rainfall between the Newland area, Boone, Blowing Rock, and then as you come out of Tennessee, also seeing some areas of moderate rainfall. But we'll zoom in closer once again to the tornado warning that we have right now for portions of Surrey and Stokes County. We're going to go ahead and clear it out Yadkin County. I think we can give an all clear there in terms of a tornado threat for Yadkin County, but areas near the Pinnacle, areas towards Pilot Mountain, that's the greatest concern right now. Anywhere along 52 between Pilot Mountain and the Pinnacle, right near the county line, basically between Surrey and Stokes County, those are going to be the areas of concern for this possible tornado just got an update from the Weather Service on this tornado. They're going to continue the tornado warning for this storm at approximately 11:55. Weather Service radar detecting a possible tornado to the southwest side of Pilot Mountain State Park, moving northeast at 45. Areas impacted include the Pinnacle, as we've been talking about, Pilot Mountain State Park. And James, a good kind of time perhaps tell people what you want to do for any of these areas. If you're traveling along 52 and you're north of Pilot Mountain right now, go ahead and just stop for a little bit. Hang on out for 20 minutes, or so. Let this thing pass on by and then continue your trip towards Stanleyville or towards Winston-Salem. If you're southeast of those areas, same thing. Pause for a minute. Tornadoes can easily overturn cars, and it's really the worst spot you can be in the event of a tornado. Now, if you live in a home, lowest floor, interior room, hallway, bathroom, closet, basement's best if you got that. A lot of people don't have basements, though, so hallway, bathroom, closet's going to be perfectly fine. Cover your head with your hands. Protect your head from any flying debris. If you got a helmet, throw that on. That helps protect your head as well. Just like if you're riding a bicycle and you fall off the bike, protects your head, right? Same thing with the tornado. Anything flying through the air or anything that would potentially come down on you if your house got hit by a tornado, that helmet's going to help protect you from any of those types of injuries. We've learned that wearing a helmet can significantly lower your risks for a injury in a tornado. So we always encourage people to have that. Like kids have bicycle helmets, motorcycle helmets, things like that.
Ricky, we bought my son his first helmet yesterday for the intention of using it this spring on a bike ride. And I thought to myself this morning, I need to take the thing out of the packaging. I don't want to have to use it later, but if I have to use it later, I want it ready to go.
Exactly. And your son's still pretty young too, but a lot of people have child seats. Those aren't a horrible thing. If you've got a baby, put them in the child seat because they're meant to protect the child as well. Obviously you got to get out of your car and all that mess, but still, it can protect the child pretty well from any type of injury in a tornado, just because you're kind of in that little cocoon of the car seat sometimes.
Right. They're tested for rollovers. And so, if, there was some turbulence from the tornado, it would provide some level of protection.
Anything helps. That's why we tell people to cover your head with blankets, pillows, stuff like that. Just to protect yourself for the event of any flying debris, or God forbid, you get hit by the tornado and stuff like comes into your home or something like that. So
yeah, we've got this now moving ever so closer to Pilot Mountain. You can probably see the polygon there on the screen updated as Ricky and I were talking. And we'll continue to monitor this. We were also showing on the screen what to do in the event of a tornado warning, which is to seek shelter in the lowest level of your house. We don't yet have a watch out, but that will be coming momentarily, either for severe thunderstorms or for tornadoes. And when I say will be coming likely, we anticipate it. We don't have it yet, but as Ricky mentioned, a 60% chance of seeing that in the next little bit. Ricky, I do want to show the model run in a second, but I know this is actually about to cross another road here.
Yeah, it's about to cross over US 52, and I just saw a picture on social media from Tim Buckley, who's one of our good friends here at the Carolina Weather Group. One of his weather spotters reports a lot of dark clouds rotating, but not able to see a funnel or a tornado with this storm along 601 earlier. That was in Yadkin County as the storm was moving out of Yadkin County. So certainly the storm has some rotation. Spotters are seeing some rotation in it, but not able to 100% see a funnel or a tornado with this yet, which is good news. We don't want to have a tornado or anything with this. And I will say on the latest scans, James, it certainly looks a little bit of a more disorganized couplet overall. I'll switch over to CC and just kind of glance at that. Not seeing anything there indicative of any type of debris. But this is about to cross over that US Highway 52, a very well-traveled road in portions of Surry and Yadkin County. Surry and Stokes County, excuse me. Here is where the town of Pilot Mountain is. Here is Pilot Mountain itself, just the south and west of, or between Pilot Mountain and Pinnacle. So Pilot Mountain's right here. The tornado would basically be right to the south and east of Pilot Mountain right now, moving up to the northeast around 45 miles per hour. So Pinnacle, it's pretty much right on top of you right now. This is going to be coming up on State Road 1236. Coming up on, this is going to be Coon Road. We've got few more roads here. State Road 155, 1542, Bowman's Court, And picking out a lot of these are state roads once again. So McIntosh Lane, another road that some people may know. These are as you come out of Pinnacle and head towards Pilot Mountain. So the big major road between Pinnacle and Pilot Mountain is where this tornado is going to be crossing here in the next little bit. Probably about less than 10 minutes now before that happens, as the storm continues to push off to the north and east. Eventually going to be moving into more northern portions of Surrey and Stokes County. So we'll have to see if the Weather Service pushes this tornado warning any further up. We got about 15 minutes left on this tornado warning that was in effect until 12:15. They'll either issue a new tornado warning, or they'll allow this to expire based off of radar and spotter reports. If I was a betting man right now, I'd probably say they're going to continue this tornado warning north and east, just kind of based on the radar signature. It certainly has become a little bit less organized right now, but there's still some rotation. You can see the couplet earlier was a lot better organized, but still, I think there's a chance there for some rotation, so that they may, out of abundance of caution, decide to continue this warning up to the north and east.
Yeah, we'll continue to monitor that. I'm going to go ahead and show our viewers now at 12:01 as you're watching severe weather coverage from the Carolina Weather Group. James Brierton along with Ricky Matthews. The first and only warning right now in the Carolinas is inching ever so closer to that Virginia border. But if you're watching us from anywhere else across North Carolina or South Carolina, this is a simulated radar run from the HRR model as we start in present time and move forward in time. What we're going to be watching for is more of these discrete cells out of ahead of the main line that you can see anticipated here on the model run. That's what we're currently tracking with that one tornado warned cell. Then we have a main line of storms that is currently in Georgia, is going to be moving into the Carolinas and across the southeast as we head into this afternoon. I know here in the Charlotte area, they kept telling people anticipate this between, say, 1 and 5 o'clock. You can see there the very first line here on this radar scan, about 3, 4, 5 o'clock now, heading towards 6 o'clock in the afternoon. That main line moves out of Charlotte, then moves towards Greensboro and Raleigh. And this particular model run is picking up pretty strongly here, at least initially, on the guidance for a second line back behind that would then greet us all this evening. They may even become a little bit more scattered at times, but as you can currently see with the cell that we're tracking currently, you don't need a line in order to produce a tornado warned cell. Even these discrete cells are something we'll be watching as we go through the day. So this is just one anticipated model run, but from the big picture, it paints a pretty good idea of what we're watching, not only with one, maybe two discrete lines coming through, but also one or two very well-defined lines coming through, but also some discrete cells that could also produce severe weather, just like this current cell that Ricky is tracking.
For sure. The other threat today, James, outside of some thunderstorms, maybe some strong gusty winds, especially in the southwestern side of the state. Even though we may not see thunderstorms that produce gusty winds in every location, there should be a pretty tight pressure gradient in effect that could produce some strong gusty winds.
Well, actually, what we have on the screen right now is that Storm Prediction Center outlook that we've been talking about with the enhanced and the slight risks. But if I switch this over to show just the wind threat, you can see it almost lines up perfectly. That red is at 30%, if I'm not mistaken, of damaging wind potential across western North Carolina and parts of upstate South Carolina. So the wind is going to be a threat for those locations as well as everyone else in the Carolinas today, with a 15% chance of seeing damaging wind. That may not sound high, but that's high. If someone told you had a 15% chance of winning the lotto today, wouldn't you get excited? So that's the wind threat. We have a tornado threat as well here that goes for an even larger swath of land across western North Carolina, upstate South Carolina, and parts of the Midland. It's not labeled here on the way I've got this cropped, but Ricky, is the brown 5% or 2%?
In terms of the tornado threat, brown is 5% tornado threat.
5%. So we have a 5% chance of seeing that tornado. And last but not least, we'll even talk about that hail threat that you can see even is painting a nice bullseye across portions of the mid-Atlantic down into the Carolinas. So that's just an idea of some of the different severe weather threats we could see as we go on through the day.
Yeah, and I think we're going to have some more storms popping up here just the west of Morganton now that we're going to have to watch. Nothing really jumping out at me yet in terms of, any severe weather potential with those, but certainly something that's going to need to be watched as we go over the next little bit, because all these little individual cells are starting to fire up. And as they tap into this favorable environment for severe storms, I think we're going to continue to see Several severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings later today come out. If you look at the parameters for severe weather, the STP, or what we call significant tornado parameter, is pretty high across the Shelby area, the Hickory, and then all the way into North Wilkesboro. And a lot of times tornadoes tend to form on the northern side of these STP maximums. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now with this storm up towards Mount Airy. I'm looking at some stuff off the screen here and kind of analyzing it on another computer. And there certainly is a good amount of STP, or what we call significant tornado parameter, across much of western North Carolina, right along the I-77 and I-40 corridor right now, where those strongest storms are. But still, watching this tornado warning here, now north and east of the Pinnacle area. This is going to be in Stokes County. If you're in Surry County, I think we can give you an all clear as well. This storm is going to pass to your east. Just got an update from the Weather Service. They are going to continue this tornado warning, and they actually just canceled Surry County. So I was glad to see we're on the same wavelength as the Weather Service this morning, as they basically canceled things as soon as we said there was it's an all clear. So glad when everyone agrees on things here. But this tornado warning continues for this small little area here of Surry County for about another 10 minutes or so. And then we'll have to see if the Weather Service decides to continue this warning to the north and east. They've really cut this polygon down from what it was earlier, James. It was a pretty big.
Yeah. They didn't really extend it out. They really just isolated its current location.
Yeah. And so that is interesting. So we're just going to have to wait and see, I guess, for the next about 10 to 15 minutes to see what they decide to do.
Yeah, I'm in chat. We're not getting any sort of back channel communication, so we're getting the warnings as they go out publicly to you all at home as well. So again, we're going to watch now as we continue to get fairly rapid refreshes there on radar, Ricky, with that sales mode, which is nice as we continue to monitor. And we'll have to watch, as you mentioned, some other discrete cells that are forming back across not only northern Iredell County where this tornado warning began, but also back across portions of the foothills where we'll be dealing with a little bit more this afternoon. I think I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit more of those radar gaps struggling to help us pinpoint some of the worst severe weather today as we continue to monitor just this one warning right now here in the Carolinas.
Oh, yeah. And once again, not a ton of lightning with this yet. So very interesting to see that and see the lack of lightning activity with any of these storms. I'm going to stop this and check our lightning place files and make sure they're all turned on here.
Make sure it's working. Yes.
Yeah.
I've done that. The radar scope, I've had it toggled off and I keep going, there's no lightning. Oh, wait.
Got it. It's on, but there's not a ton of lightning strikes with any of
it. And that's good. That's good because, lightning obviously poses its own dangerous threat. And while it's not a concrete tool, but I guess we use it as a way to watch a storm to see if it's intensifying, right? So if we're seeing more radar or lightning coming up on radar, we anticipate that storm is strengthening rather than weakening.
For sure, yeah. A lot of times it can be a good indicator of a strengthening storm cell. There's been some studies that show that an uptick in lightning occurs right before a possible tornado drops in a lot of storms. So that's something we're watching carefully.
This is interesting. I'm texting obviously here. My parents are telling me they're heading shortly to church services and they're going to be turning off their phones. And I'm telling them, I understand that that's very polite and courteous of you, but maybe keep one on vibrate.
Yeah, vibrate or something like that. I got a call yesterday from a gentleman. His job is security at one of the churches, and he was saying that he wanted to sign up for our weather alerts because he's kind of tasked with watching out for security. Not so much severe weather, but more so like regular security would be. And so I found that interesting that maybe today his job includes watching the storms and watching for any severe weather across the area.
Yeah, and those same duties are getting passed probably to a lot of parents who maybe have sports activities with their kids this Sunday afternoon, and you're going to be looking at your phones. You're going to be trying to figure out what's going on. If you're not sure, err on the side of caution. But if nothing else, if you can hear thunder, you're close enough to be struck by lightning, and I think that's something a lot of people have been reminded of these past 2 days. I think I convinced my dad to keep at least one phone on.
There you go. So a lot of times those WEA alerts will go off too. And so.
Right. Well, but that's the thing, right? So even if the phone's on silent or vibrate, it'll go off, but it's not going to go off if the phone is off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually we have a graphic that I think you provided us that I'll show people exactly what that is. You want to have several ways to receive notifications on a day like today, and one of them is the wireless emergency alert system, which will come to your phone, whether you really like it or not, and it will sound. Would imagine if you had a congregation at church and all of their phones went off, it would get everyone's attention, which is good. We don't want to cause any disruptions of activities or services, but if it's a life-threatening situation, such as maybe a tornado warning, that is something we're obviously going to want to get across. Update now on our current tornado warning, Ricky.
Yeah, we got a new warning. We were talking about whether the Weather Service would continue this warning to the north and east or not, and they have decided to do that. So it's going to be for Surry County. It's going to be Stokes County in north central North Carolina until 12:45. So for about 30 minutes here, a tornado warning in effect. Tornado we've been tracking near Capella, now up to the north of Pinnacle. This is moving through Stokes County at about 40 miles per hour. So Sandy Ridge, Patrick Springs, that's all the way up in Virginia. But these areas in northern Stokes County, so the Danbury areas down here, and then we've got this road that runs north. This is Highway 8 northbound as you're going into the Stewart area of Virginia. Is going to be the concern right now. So this is zooming in closer. State Highway 268 and then State Highway 66 north is where this tornado is going to be tracking very soon, where the intersection of those two roads is. Also towards Lynchburg Road, areas near Tom Martin Road, Bondurant Road. It's always interesting to call these names and see if I get them right.
We try.
Yeah, Justin Road. Apologies if I don't. Sorry.
Ricky, you don't have every road in the Carolinas memorized?
No, I'm not James Spann. I'm not that good yet. But this tornado moving off to the north and east around 40 miles per hour into Stokes County. And same storm we've been tracking here for about the past 45 minutes or so. James is pushed off the north. Interesting to kind of look at the trend here. It almost looks like well, it's hard to say if it's making a little bit of a right turn or not. A lot of times if storms make a right turn, they sometimes can strengthen their circulation. So that's something we'll be watching for today. As I zoom in closer to this and look at the reflectivity of everything, and then look at the velocity, got a little more rain here on the southern side now, which could come into this and maybe cut off the circulation a bit. But either way, this storm's probably going to be rain wrapped, and you're not going to see any tornado that would be on the ground. So don't go outside and say, hey, I want to try to see this thing. Well, you're probably not going to anyway. So don't worry about that. Just go ahead and get in your safe place, lowest floor, interior room, hallway, bathroom, closet. Basement's best if you got it, but a lot of people don't have basements. Mobile homes, they're not safe. All right. They're great for low cost living, but they are not safe during tornadoes because a lot of times they're not anchored down securely. A lot of times they're made out of more thin materials, and they can easily be picked up, tossed, ripped apart by tornadic winds. A lot of people always say tornadoes hit trailer homes a whole lot more. No, reality is that a lot of times the worst damage is in those trailer parks, so they just get covered a lot more. It's not that tornadoes happen to hit them more often. It's just that some of the worst damage usually occurs there, the most visual damage. So that's what a lot of times you see in severe weather events.
No one's talking about the brick home that wasn't damaged.
Right, exactly. They talk about what was damaged instead.
I want to pop up this map. We talked about it a few minutes ago, the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma, which will be handling any watches that we get today, severe thunderstorm or tornado or otherwise, giving us a 60% chance that they'll be issuing some sort of watch here for the next little bit. And if they do, this is kind of their rough drawing of where we are going to be expecting the bullseye of severe weather as we head into the early afternoon now. Severe weather probability is expected to increase across these areas, primarily during the mid to late afternoon hours, as we're continuing to watch not only these discrete cells, which has prompted this one tornado warning for Stokes County, but we've got a lot of activity back across Georgia that not only will be affecting us here in the Carolinas, Ricky, but also going to be affecting the Masters in Augusta. As I understand it, they tried to tee things off a little bit earlier today to get this all done before the worst of the weather came through, and we'll have to see whether or not that gamble pays off.
Yeah, we're about 15 minutes away too now from getting an update from the Storm Prediction Center on our day one severe weather outlook. Those maps we've been showing you with where the wind, hail, and tornadoes are most likely. We're going to get an update from them in about 15 minutes at 12:30 for our day one outlook. So it'll be interesting to see if they make any changes, if they shift any of these probabilities anywhere. Regardless, I think the threat exists and probably stays the same for much of the Carolinas, with the chance for strong to severe storms across the entire state as we go through the afternoon hours, with more showers and storms now forming just west of Statesville, north there along the 77 corridor, and then also south and west there towards Shelby, some showers and storms going up. And a few lightning strikes with these too, moving into the Wilkesboro area.
Yeah, here's a look at our wide regional radar as well too. As Ricky mentioned, we are now beginning to see more rain move into the area. And, I'm going to pull up a visible satellite as well, too, Ricky, to get us a glance on that. I'll take your screen full while I prepare that. But at least here in the Charlotte area, as I make my way towards the window, we are still looking at cloud cover. We've got wind picking up here a little bit, but that cloud cover, not the only consideration for today, but one of the things that will help us guide just how much instability there is in the atmosphere.
Yeah, and today's one of those days too, James, where there's so much wind energy. A lot of times that wind energy can overcome that limited amount of CAPE. So even if we don't get a ton of CAPE, or what we call instability, thunderstorm fuel, that wind energy is sometimes strong enough to where it can overcome that, and we still get these threats of severe weather. So just because you may have cloud cover right now, don't think your severe weather risk is zero. Because obviously we've got this tornado warning right now ongoing across Stokes County, where we've had cloud cover for much of the morning time frame, and these storms are able to get going and exhibit some areas of rotation, which has caused that Weather Service to issue that tornado warning for Stokes County. So, a lot of times these rules of thumb are just that you don't want to trust them 100%, but they're good things to look at for sure.
Yeah, I can actually kind of paint that picture as I pop the HRR back up real fast here to show exactly what you were defining, to not get too much into the science. But this is CAPE. This is some of that atmospheric fuel, if you will, that Ricky was talking about. And while you can see we do have it moving across the area, the values are high, but they're not insane. However, if we switch back over to say, what is our thunderstorm activity? What is our fuel for that? You can see those are a bit more significant as we head through the day because of the way the atmosphere is set up. And I think not only do we see that here in the Carolinas today, but we saw it playing out last night, that even after the sun went down in places like Mississippi last night, you would have expected the activity to calm down, but it didn't. It kept roaring all throughout the night. Ricky, I heard that tornado sound on your Weather Service chat. Any news from them?
They have allowed the tornado warning to expire. Well, okay, so here's what happened. We had that existing tornado warning for Stokes County, right? And so that one was allowed to expire, but we still got the current one for Stokes County and then Patrick County. So a little confusing. The old tornado warning that was in effect until 12:15, that was allowed to expire, but the one we've been monitoring and told you about just about 10 minutes ago or 8 minutes ago, that one remains in effect until 12:45 for northwestern Stokes County and Patrick County.
I'm getting a lot of questions on chat about different locations. What's it going to be in Clemson? What's it going to be in Winston-Salem? I don't think I can stress this enough. Everyone has a severe weather threat today. Everyone needs to be prepared. We only have one tornado warning right now we're talking about, and that's what we're focusing on. But everyone has a chance of seeing severe weather today. And if you're not inside this one polygon right now, get yourself prepared. Get batteries into weather radios, get batteries charged on your phone, know where your safe place is going to be in the lowest level, most interior part of a sturdy structure, and have things like helmet and shoes ready to go. And if you have any necessary travel today, plan accordingly. You don't want to be caught off guard on a highway in the middle of wherever inside a severe storm.
Yeah, I was driving one time, April 16th, 2011, the big outbreak for North Carolina, and it was one of those days where I pretty much had to watch constantly where I was and where the warnings were and stuff like that, because we had so many tornadoes that day that it was one of those days you really had to remain on alert at traveling. And it's not fun because you're like driving through rain constantly, you're driving through storms, you got hail at times. It can get really, really messy in a hurry. So driving, always not the best idea on days like today if you can put it off at all. This is this couplet certainly does not look as organized as it was earlier, James, to me. Looks like pretty broad rotation now with this storm. Still some rotation in it, but it's not as concerning as it was to me earlier.
Yeah, and it's going to be moving into Virginia here in the next little bit. If you have interest in that area, that is where this is going to be heading here. If it is even going to continue, or we'll see if it just dies out as it crosses the state line. Refresh my memory if you can. What's that road there? It's about to cross between Stewart and Danbury.
Between Stewart and Danbury,
And the most major road there.
the major road there, it's going to be State Road 8 northbound.
Okay. So it's pretty much roughly going to be crossing the North Carolina-Virginia line at State Road 8 there here in the next few minutes or so.
Yeah.
I do have, or I'm working to bring up just to look at satellite so we can get a little bit of an idea of a little bit of what's going on. But as you mentioned, this is not the end-all be-all of diagnosing the threat for today. I'm actually going to have to do a hard refresh on my browser here. It's doing some wacky things, very much so. So that is going to that's going to take me a second. I don't know if anyone else is having problems with the College of DuPage Go's imagery, but we'll try to bring this back up here in a second.
This is going to be pretty much out of our state here in about the next, say, 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
I think quickly moving into Patrick County in Virginia. So we're almost done with this tornado warning. This is going to be approaching areas right along State Road 704. Areas 1541. Let's see what this road is here. A lot of state roads in northern portions of Stokes County here. Not any real names I can read off to you. It's a lot of state roads around here instead of
here's a look at that visible radar. Visible satellite right now across the region, and you can see that a lot of us still have cloud cover, but are starting to get clearing. And again, this is not the only factor for today. As we saw with this line that made its way towards the deep south last night, it still had its nocturnal energy. And so it's not solely going to be the sun, but certainly any sun we do get will be a contributing factor.
Yeah, and the Weather Service making a good point in their latest update on this warning. You know, a lot of times these storms do cycle, and so it may pulse down for a little bit. The rotation may look a little weaker like it's looking right now, which is good news here in North Carolina. But as it moves into parts of Virginia, it could easily re-intensify and produce another tornado. So just because you're not really seeing a huge tornado threat right now, don't let your guard down any storm today. Even if we say it's weaker at the moment, you still give it a little bit of some caution because these storms can quickly cycle up and pulse up, pulse down as they move northeast, especially strong supercell storms like this one.
Yeah, so we'll wait to see here in the next few minutes as this moves out of the Carolinas, what else might be playing into consideration and factor of what's going on. But otherwise, if this tornado warning, Ricky, does move out of our region and we don't have any other warnings, we'll probably stand down with the anticipation that we'll be back in not too long, if for nothing else, rather than to prevent burnout, as I anticipate a very long day here in the Carolinas.
Yeah, and you guys will have it covered pretty well. I actually have to go do weather coverage for my TV responsibility area in Northeast Tennessee, Southwest Virginia. So I'll be jumping off here in a little bit to head into work per se and do my other day job. But you guys will have it well covered here throughout the afternoon for any watches or mornings that are issued for the Carolinas.
Yeah, we'll stay with this warning until it's safely and securely out of the Carolinas. But certainly if you have anyone who is watching or anyone who has interest in the Virginia areas of Patrick Springs as it begins to move closer to Martinsville, give them a courtesy heads up to let them know they should be monitoring this as it comes into their area here. But again, we do have for the next few moments or so a lingering tornado warning for the outer reaches of Stokes County, North Carolina, which is now extending into Patrick County, Virginia.
I hear your kid has joined us for tornado warning coverage.
He has. He's very excited.
Early budding meteorologist right there.
He likes looking at all the colors on the radar, we will stay with you here, I think, just another minute or two as we're watching this possible tornado, this tornado-warned thunderstorm now exiting Stokes County, North Carolina into Patrick County, Virginia. And again, this is the only warning we have right now in the Carolinas. As we broaden out, you can see we do have rain beginning to work on in, but we don't have any other warnings right now. But to answer the question, what is it going to be at my house today? Everyone has a threat of seeing severe weather today, not just this one area that we're watching. So now is the time to prepare. If you had any doubts in the forecast, we have already had one tornado warning, and I would be willing to bet we will have more severe weather as we move through the day. This is the Storm Prediction Center's outlook, which is due to be updated the next few minutes or so. That shows an enhanced risk there in orange across western North Carolina and parts of upstate South Carolina. But Ricky, everyone else in yellow with a slight risk. So everyone's got some part to play today.
Yeah, and important to remember, just because you may be in the slight risk versus the enhanced risk doesn't mean your risk is zero. Doesn't mean your risk is, not important or not shouldn't be taken seriously, because there still is a risk, which is higher than most days when it comes to severe weather. Most days we've got risk near 1% of any severe weather occurring. Today, you've got a much exponentially higher risk across these areas. So certainly something you want to keep in the back of your head today, and keep mindful as we go throughout the afternoon.
Keep those cell phones nearby so you can get the wireless emergency alerts, but those are only going to work if your cellular coverage works. So it's always good to have multiple sources, multiple ways to get severe weather, one of which could be a weather radio. Remember, if you are inside a tornado warning, you should take action immediately and seek shelter in a sturdy structure in a room, lowest level of your house to most interior. A tornado watch means be prepared for developing storms that could be a threat to life or property. And we'll watch here in the next few minutes to see if we get any sort of watch issued across for our region as we continue to monitor a severe weather potential. Looking at the radar here, Ricky, it looks like this potential tornado just now crossing that state line.
Yeah, I think any tornado risk has now moved into Virginia, right? Basically where State Road 8 comes north into Virginia would be where that possible tornado would be right now. Not seeing any huge indicators, once again, of a tornado on the ground or anything like that. No debris that I'm seeing. Here's our rotational product. And even on the last scan, it's weakened a little bit more than it has been. So I think, James, we can pretty much say that the tornado threat across Stokes County has ended right now. This is the only tornado warning we have for the entire state, or had for the entire state here. Still some showers and storms firing up. If we take the wide radar once again for the state, we can show you where some of those showers and storms are. Basically along the 77 corridor, north and west, some of those showers and storms popping up. And then also down across portions of South Carolina, we're seeing some storms firing up just to the north there. That's going to be north and east of Columbia. Some showers and storms popping up. The Chesterfield, Cheraw area, and Kershaw, and eventually just a little bit near Darlington too. Some showers and storms popping up. So those areas you got to be mindful for, as those storms will be moving north and east into the Carolinas here as we go into the afternoon.
Yes, and at the risk of sounding like a shameless promotion, we would encourage you to like, subscribe, or follow us on whichever platform you're currently watching us on live right now, because we are going to stand down on coverage, but we will be back throughout the day as severe weather coverage warrants right here on the Carolina Weather Group. So for Ricky Matthews, I'm James Brierton. Stay weather aware, and we'll see you back here shortly.